Hello, thanks for stopping by for another Just What's on My Mind. Um, today, today's topic, we're going to be continuing along the same threads as the past few, talking a little bit more about Girls Aloud. So, of course, I'm back in my usual setting, as you can see. It's the 12th of July today, filming this, which is crazy because June the 30th feels like yesterday. I'm still very much on a high, on a Girls Aloud high, very much still in that happy Girls Aloud bubble. Yeah, I think the last time I made a video, it was right before the concert on June the 30th. So I'm going to be talking about that. I'm not sure if that'll be this video, but today I just wanted to do kind of I don't know, would this be like a debrief? That'll be more of what the next video is about. But just kind of on a come down of everything the Girls Aloud summer that we've just had, basically. Well, first off, I should say I had an absolutely fantastic time in England. Had an absolutely fantastic time with all things Girls Aloud. Like, nothing could break my mood. I missed my flight home. I was supposed to fly home on the 1st. Missed that and ended up staying an extra night. And like, I've flown international before, traveled a lot. Never on my own, I don't think. Usually at least a family member or a sibling or someone with me. It's the first time traveling on my own and the first time ever that I've missed the flight. It just happened to happen on this occasion. I have to say I wasn't like the least bit upset. Like, it was mildly annoying, but I was just like so like still in it, still like everything. I just had Girls Aloud on the brain. Like, it was like, whatever. I have to pay an extra night for a hotel, fine. Luckily I didn't have to pay extra for the flight home. It was a terrible flight as well, but that's besides the point. Like I've said, I'm still on the Girls Aloud high. By the time I got home, touching down here in Texas, there were already like a lot of footage and images of the one night only show at Shepherd's Bush Empire for the girls. So that was nothing could break my mood, basically. I was firmly entrenched. So yeah, let's talk about that show, actually, because in a way that's the last show of the tour was the 30th, obviously, but that July 2nd show at Shepherd's Bush, it was just a really nice like ribbon on to tie everything off. It looked like a fun time, looked like a pretty fun night. I'm doing it again. I'll try to cut out the ums. What I wouldn't have given to have been there. It must have been so exciting. They looked great. I'm curious about the outfits, if they were like maybe leftovers from like tour concepts, or if they were just for the show specifically. The set for the show was pretty, I mean, you can't say it's similar to the tour. It's still their songs. Like, what else are they gonna do? But yeah, they did quite a lot. It was a truncated version, I guess. They did well over half the set of the tour. I think it was about 20 songs for the Girls Aloud show, and for the Shepherd's Bush show, there's, if I've done my internet sleuthing correctly and thoroughly, there are about 14 songs in the set. I don't know. It's just really good to have a little bit more of them. Really good to see them in a slightly different setting. I think what stood out to me the most was Sexy No No No, because as opposed to the tour version, they're on firm ground, and it's just interesting to see them present that a little bit differently than you would if you're trying not to fall off some kind of pedestal. It just looked like a whole lot of fun. Very small space. I can only imagine how fun it would have been to be in that crowd. A lot of nice moments. I did see a short video on Instagram where Nadine is talking about how she's had a hard time with confetti all tour. I must have missed this somehow. I knew nothing about this, but as soon as she said that, or as soon as I saw that video, a whole lot of stuff like started to make sense, because I felt like I kept seeing, like, even before I went to my first show, I felt like I kept seeing a lot of videos of her like being slightly preoccupied with things on the floor, especially like in the last section with the red and black outfits. Yeah, so it makes a lot more sense now. Even when I was there at the tour, she seemed to be the one who noticed the most when there was something on the ground. I remember there was this like strap kind of thing. It looked like a black, I don't know, like cloth with like a buckle or something that was just on the stage for some reason, which I don't know how that ended up there, but she was the one, she was the first one to notice it. But yeah, it makes sense if the confetti's been bothering her all tour. It just puts a lot of other things I've been seeing into context. And of course, as always, Nadine is hilarious in her delivery. Yeah, Shepherd's Bush. That was... I suppose I don't have much to say about the show itself. I wasn't there. But just the idea of that show being a thing at all. I've talked about it a little bit in the last video that I made. I don't really want to go over it again just because I sound extra like soppy on that particular topic. But I just love that there was a post-tour show and kind of what that represents in contrast with the last tour they did, the End of the 10 tour. There was one costume change for this show, which, to be honest, the fact that they even bothered, good on them. I probably would have just wrapped it up in the same outfits. But they made the effort for the promise. I guess you just have to. You can't not be in a gown, and preferably a gold sparkly one for the promise. Yeah, good on them. I'd like to, I guess, revisit the final night of the tour, I guess, from like an emotional standpoint. It's an absolutely excellent show. I'm going to talk a little bit more, or a lot more, about the show in a separate video. Just go track by track. I think that'll be a bit of fun. But I did speak about the first or the last London date that I attended. I think it was the 27th, and then the first Liverpool date, the first of two, which was the 29th. For the 30th, what that felt like. That was the first one where I got to the concert venue like much earlier. Not even that much earlier, but the first two, I was kind of just always arriving just on time, so I was always like straight to my seat. But for this one, I had a little bit of time to like walk around a bit, pick up some merch, and even like getting to my seat with like a lot of time to go and kind of having the opportunity to like interact with some of the people around me. It was such a good show. When the curtains drop and the music starts for Untouchable, I can't impress enough of how much of a moment that is. Just kind of a silent, still moment. I really love it. I know there were some discussions online about the show needing to start like super like high octane and just needing to jump into it. I wholly disagree. I just think there was something very special about that the way they decided to start the show. I feel like I need to point out Nadine for this show, and how just give her some kudos for being able to get through that, because as soon as the curtain drops for Untouchable, you could see right away that she was so emotional, and I'm sure they all were. That's the last date of such a meaningful tour, but Nadine, from start to finish, you could just see on her face that, I don't know, the emotions were just right there. I thought she could have burst into tears at any given second. I definitely noticed during Long Hot Summer, I forget the lyrics, but there's a point where she's sitting on a dancer's knee, just like delivering this really like cool, like edgy line, and her entire face was just like flushed red, and I'm like, oh, maybe it's hot up on stage, she's running around and all that, but it really did look like she could have burst into tears while singing Long Hot Summer of all songs. Could be because I'll Stand By You was coming up right after that, and maybe she had that on her mind. But honestly, throughout the entire show, she was, I would say, particularly emotional. I feel like her emotions were like right on the edge right there. You could see it also for during a Whole Lot of History. I get the feeling with Whole Lot of History that it's such an emotional song for them that they're all like trying to keep their emotions in check for that one. Nadine and Nicola in particular are usually not interacting much for that one, almost like they're trying not to set each other off. But that last show, Nadine looked like Nadine was definitely in need of a hug, and she got one off of Nicola. And I remember Kimberly and Cheryl standing up to leave at the end with Sarah's bit playing, and you could just see them kind of like almost like shake their heads a bit because they turn around and Nadine and Nicola are hugging, and they're like, you could just see them kind of shake their head like, don't set us off. You just see them kind of just like a slight shake of the head, like, don't even, you're about to set us all off here. That was kind of a sweet moment as well. What else? Oh, there was there was a really funny moment at the start of, well, maybe it's not really funny. I was basking in the glow of all of it. So, Nadine, true to form, always delivering her special brand of humor. But there was a moment at the start of biology, because Nadine does this thing where she does a bit of audience participation to get biology started. But before she could do her thing, there was people in the the VIP section that started chanting 10 more years, and of course that spread further and further out. I was definitely chanting my heart out. And Nadine just goes, what was it that she said? Well, basically, she's about to ask the audience to like sing something back to her. So people are chanting 10 more years. She lets it go for a little bit, and then she goes, all right, save your breath. I need you to sing something. Or something thereabouts, something of that nature. I just thought it was kind of funny how people are pouring their heart out in the front row, and she's just like slightly dismissive, like, okay, I need to get on to this next bit. But I think she was just already, like I said, from the start with Untouchable, she looked super emotional already. I think she was just trying to keep things together, and people chanting for 10 more years of Girls Aloud probably wasn't helping with her efforts there. But yeah, that was a sweet moment as well. What else? Call the Shots, definitely. There was a brief kind of a, I don't know. I feel like they hadn't really figured out like where in the show or at what moment, or if at all, they wanted to say something specific to address the audience. But there was a brief kind of like breakdown of events right before Call the Shots. I think it was after, what's before Call the Shots? I think it's Jump. Yeah, right after Jump, right before Call the Shots, where they're all kind of addressing the crowd. People are screaming, cheering for a successful tour. And as they go into it, there's just like hugs all around. There must be video on YouTube. I haven't watched anything yet since I've seen the shows, because other than the stuff for Shepherd's Bush, and just because, I don't know, I'm just basking in my memories of those few days that I got to see them. But yeah, there were just some really sweet hugs between Kimberly and Nadine and Cheryl. And yeah, it was just a really sweet moment all around. Let's see. I'll Stand By You, definitely. I think, yeah, like I said, Nadine was already almost in tears during Long Hot Summer. Going into I'll Stand By You, I'm surprised she was even able to get the intro out. Uh, she was pretty much crying right away, but I'm almost surprised she made it through the song. Like she I don't know, she made it through the song. It was super emotional. Everyone's tried to keep it together, and Nadine just like first verse was already like wiping away tears. Trying to see if there's anything specific I want to say, because there is going to be a whole different video where we go into a bit more detail. But yeah, last show, super emotional. It was amazing. Everyone sounded great, regardless of the emotions going around. At the end, after the promise, they stayed on stage for a little bit. I don't believe that had ever occurred at any other show. There was like an extra. Usually the promise ends, and by the time they leave the stage, there's like two images or the same image on two screens of Sarah. But they swapped one out this time for a message saying "In loving memory" of Sarah Nicole Harding, which I think really moved the audience, especially people who had been to more than one show. Were not expecting that. It's just a simple thing, but it's a definitive statement of the intention for this tour, and that was really sweet. And then they stayed on stage for a little bit. And like I said, I don't think they made any specific plans for like wanting to say something or to address the audience, but I don't know. It felt like in that moment, maybe they just felt like they ought to take the opportunity. Cheryl definitely looked to seem like she just wanted to really take the opportunity that was there. Yeah, but they said a few things. It seemed a little bit incoherent because it was unplanned, but I don't know. I'll have to find some video of that, see. I'm sure there's something available somewhere on YouTube. But yeah, that was it. They were gone. I remember, I think I stuck around at the arena for almost like an hour afterwards. I don't know. I just couldn't bring myself to leave. It was like super windy, chilly Liverpool air. Sometimes I feel like I can still feel the wind burn in the middle of the summer. You guys, I know you guys complain about the weather over there, but honestly, I got back to Texas and it was 94 degrees. I wasn't pleased, not at all. But yeah, that was a really special night. I hung around for a lot longer than necessary until I started to worry that I wouldn't be able to find my way back home, and then I left. I just didn't want it to be over. I have to say, for me personally, my feelings for the end of that show, there was a sense of, I don't know, I just felt good the entire way around. What am I trying to say here? I think it didn't feel entirely over, partly because of the Shepherd's Bush show and even the Brighton show that's still to come in a few weeks. There's something about those two shows that made that night feel not super definitive. I don't remember the exact words they said after the promise, so I don't want to quote that and use that to form any conclusions here. But there was something that Cheryl said that made me feel like, I remember thinking to myself in that moment as they were walking off the stage that I remember thinking to myself that if this is the last we get of Girls Aloud, I feel complete in terms of Girls Aloud fandom, obviously. I just can't help but compare everything this go around to the 10 era, because I just remember feeling, even at the start of that era when they were doing like interviews and stuff, and people would congratulate them on their reunion or their comeback. I remember I used to find that word so like offensive to my ears. I think part of it was because of when I came to be a Girls Aloud fan. There was always that waiting. Like I never considered that it was over. So I had like 7 years straight of music and content to consume, and just sort of like getting to know them, and then just waiting to be a part of the fun and everything, and then sort of getting a little bit of that and then having that taken away so quickly. So I don't know, there was always like, for me, an uneasiness around the 10 era. That's probably the era that I revisit the least out of all of them, because I don't know, it just kind of makes me feel sad, especially with the way things played out after that. But yeah, there's something about this time, just seeing their, I don't know, what would I call it? Seeing their sisterhood play out on stage in front of us night after night, that brings a more welcome feeling of finality. I mean, I would take more Girls Aloud. I don't care if they never make a new song or a new album. They could tour every other year. I'll be there. I don't care. If they want to make new music, that would be totally welcomed by me as well. But I just think it's so strange because obviously we've lost Sarah, but at the same time, things feel a bit more settled than they did last go around. I was thinking, I don't know if I've mentioned this in a video before, but around the time that the Duke of Edinburgh died, Prince Philip, or maybe a little bit after, a year or two after, there was an interview of Sophie Wessex, as she was at the time, and she was asked about how the family was taking the loss. And she'd mentioned that she was referring more to the pandemic in this instance, but she mentioned that when you lose someone who's not around you every day, a lot of the grieving and sort of coming to terms with that loss happens around the events that you would normally undertake with them, right? So because of that, people who lost loved ones during the pandemic kind of had a stunted or like delayed healing process, because everyone's like locked down and not following their usual routine. And then when people start to come back out and do the things they usually do, and then that person is not there, it kind of renews all those feelings, and I don't know, maybe restarts or kickstarts that grieving process all over again. And I think, I don't know, it's just an interesting concept, because with Sarah, I mean, all the girls have or had a personal relationship with her. So, I mean, that's something that they would have had to work through in the immediate aftermath. But in terms of the fans and the relationship that we would have had with Sarah, that would have occurred within the context of commercial endeavors for the group. So new music being released, live shows, tours. So in a sense, it's like it almost seems like part of grieving the loss of Sarah required a tour in a weird way. And it must, I suppose I didn't consider, but it must be the same for the girls as well, because that was one of the things they did together. They might have had to come to terms with her loss on a personal level, but also in a, I don't know, music is weird because in some ways the personal can be the professional. They would have had to come to terms with her loss on a personal level in some aspects, but in other aspects, like the music, the fact that the band's been inactive for 10 years, or was inactive for 10 years, means that there is an aspect to their relationship with her that they wouldn't have had the opportunity to process. And I imagine even like putting the tour together would have been something rather cathartic, going through the entire tour night after night, feeling the energy from the fans as well. I just think it was a big, like, I don't know, it was a tall order, but they definitely met it, and I think it meant a lot to a lot of people, to all the fans, and to the four girls as well, to be able to do that. And I guess you just have to be thankful that they were willing to go through all that, because they certainly didn't have to. I certainly was not expecting it. I know a lot of people online address the issue with almost like a certainty. For me, I honestly thought, we'd seen the last of them in this format, but I couldn't be more grateful. I can't believe that I actually got the opportunity to go and see them. Yeah, I had one heck of a time, and honestly, when I started to put this trip together, I did think, I was thinking, just go for it. One-time thing. But honestly, at this point, if they decided to tour again, I'm there 100%. It was so much fun. Almost couldn't believe how much, like, I wasn't expecting to get that much out of that experience. So I don't know, hopefully they're encouraged by the reaction from the audience, both in person and all around the world, virtually, online. Yeah, they're so very loved. They're such a unique band. I don't know, can't compare them to anything else. But yeah, that's it for me for this video, and sorry if it's very rambly. That is what we're doing here, just things that are on my mind. But yeah, I'll see you in the next one.